Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. This is Tony, and you're listening to All Elite Retrospective number 2. I am your host, Tony, and I am joined by my co-host, Dave. Dave, how you doing today?
Easy for you to say. Hey, how's it going? Number 2. So, 2 shows for AEW, 2 shows for the pod.
Boom.
It's going to be a common theme. I'm going to try to do a pod each show. Obviously all the major shows. Go into the future with that. I'm looking forward to, AEW's eventual debut on TNT, in October. So
excited for that.
Yeah, right. 2 hour, after watching this show, I was like, I feel a little more confident about this 2 hours.
Yeah, they could fit a good tight 2 hours. It's maybe some of the talent, especially with the rate that they work. But yeah, you're right. I could conceivably see it working.
Yeah, I was a little worried. Well, not worried. I don't think that's a proper term, but I was like, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if like wrestling was like how it was 30 years ago when you only got like an hour and they did like all like 1 minute job matches, but you saw like 8 matches, and it piped up the next pay-per-view in 4 months or whatever. I wasn't quite looking for that AEW because I do want to actually watch wrestling I'm going to enjoy, but I was like, yeah, if they fit it into an hour, then they can really they don't have to overstay their welcome. But things are so fresh in this product that I don't really think that'll be a problem for them in the conceivable future, at least.
No, NXT has no problem with doing 1 hour television a week and getting storylines and feuds and matches over. My thing is with that, sort of comparing to NXT, I feel like that's going to happen a lot today, probably. They have a lot of talent that never sees television, and I feel like that's probably because of the 1 hour time limit. So if AEW is 2 hours, I have to imagine that's going to be a lot easier for fleshing out, the roster, because they can only focus on so many guys with that hour of television. But AEW is going to have the 2 hours, and I imagine that's going to be a lot healthier for getting guys over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm really happy you said made an NXT comparison because with this show, Fyter Fest, as well as Double or Nothing. You have the comparisons to NXT right off the bat, and I think NXT did like a show like a week or so after Double or Nothing. Mm-hmm. And one thing I had to say about NXT's takeovers was that, I had to say the last takeover wasn't as good as Double or Nothing, comparing apples and oranges, I didn't think it was quite as good as that. But they're very smart about how they booked NXT takeovers because, there's literally 4 or 5 matches and they're usually involving all the same guys. Lots of guys who probably should have been called up to the main roster by now, but for whatever reason, heavy machinery is there instead. You can really look amazing. You have a 2.5 hour show and have 4 or 5 matches. You can look amazing every, 4 or 5 times a year by doing something like that. But it's definitely, and it's kind of like a safeguard that I don't think people really realize so much what it is there by just being like, okay, we're just gonna have 5 matches, have 5 really good matches, and if and I know this show was a little more takeover length, but comparing Double or Nothing to takeovers, if NXT takeover had to do an extra hour, I don't think it would look out quite as good as a show like Double or Nothing.
Well, sort of go back to compare it to NXT. I found this show that we're reviewing today, Fyter Fest. I found it to be very similar to an NXT show in the sense that it was very short and sweet, and I'm like, that's the kind of show I'd prefer. Because Double or Nothing, while it was good, I felt it was too uneven. It was a very long show, and you had a couple matches that were just okay. Whereas this, I felt like was all killer, no filler. And I think going forward, this is probably the formula I want out of an AEW. And if you're going to do anything else, that's sort of that just maybe that's off the beaten trail. Just leave it on the pre-show, and I think that's probably the formula to go from going forward.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but just kind of finish my conclusion about NXT takeovers. You would see what an NXT takeover looks like with a 3.5, 4 hour time slot. If you add in that the matches they do on the pre-show and then they give you on the following week of NXT television, the worst week of television for any NXT cycle. So, it's something crazy in wrestling. I don't know why wrestling gotten to this point where we feel like we need to have 4 or 5 hour shows.
Mm.
I used to be that guy. I used to be like, hey, yeah, I want to see a 45-minute match, a 50-minute match. Daniel Bryan was usually involved or something like that. Maybe something just completely out of the blue. But, Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat, of course. But, nowadays, I don't know. It does. I think these shorter shows do work as an overall product. It's just like, hey, get you in, get you out, we'll leave you wanting more. When you have a little bit bigger of a show, like Double or Nothing, 4 hours, it's like, okay, I'm very well satisfied. I'm not sure, it doesn't. I'm very well satisfied, but maybe not necessarily wanting more right away. So, it's kind of like going to the buffet line rather than like getting a nice filet mignon. So, although, I mean, a really nice buffet line, I said, like one of those ones at the Wynn or, the Venetian. So, Aria has a great buffet. I was in Vegas last weekend. So
there's your free plug, everybody.
Aria buffet, get it between, the brunch and dinner. That's the way to do it. You got to go in. They say brunch prices end at 3:00. You got to get them right before 3. Then they switch over to the dinner prices, and it's dinner quality food. So yeah, I put that over.
We gotta start shaking down these people for money.
We should do a pod for Vegas in general.
Yes.
Next AEW show. Next year when they do a Triple or Nothing, we'll be all about it.
Maybe a third time's the charm. I'm trying to think of a cute name.
Yeah. I feel like some of what I've just mentioned is as inane as irrelevant as the pre-show that AEW provided.
Well, that is the point of the pre-show. It's supposed to be sort of a superfluous thing that's just there for the people that are coming in for the show, and it's something for them to watch for people that are there early and for the hardcores that want to consume everything. But I can see why you would want to keep some of this stuff off the main card.
I mean, the one match, the opener, I would definitely want on the main card, but then the other two, oh no, that's, I don't know if anybody should pay for that. So, let's get right into it. Let's get into the good match, at least, when you, have Best Friends versus the Private Party and, SCU, Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky, and this was a fantastic matchup. With the distance, it was like 16 minutes, 5 seconds, with, Best Friends going over.
Mm-hmm.
I totally dug it. I didn't know what to expect from the Private Party. I was very impressed, especially with Cassidy. But both of them, they got a great package going on, gimmick, whatever. And, the high flying. I mean, I should say that they have a great package going on. So it's like, it's a pretty decent gimmick. I think it's just sashable, nothing amazing, but, it works. And, the wrestling itself, I mean, it's there. Those guys, I think they were recruited by the Young Bucks. I think that was mentioned by Excalibur during the match.
Yeah, I saw on someone who regularly watched Being in the Elite, they show them when they signed them, and then they show like a little highlight package of the best of their stuff. They're a very good tag team.
Yeah, they're flippy guys. They're fun flippy guys, and I love to see them wrestle the Young Bucks. That's exactly what I was thinking when some mention was made. So, something fresh, something new, and maybe not totally exposed. And I think that's a lot of the quality of, AEW's product is, it's nothing that they're doing has really been, necessarily covered by mainstream wrestling on television before.
Mm-hmm.
It's anything that they do creatively is either their own or something they're taking from the indie scene, and kind of just propping up. And that's really a smart way to go. It doesn't feel like it's trying to be a WWE light or whatever, like, Impact often did over the years, or WCW did actually for many years. It's just doing something fresh and creative. And, you see that with Best Friends, a unique concept that worked for years. And, Trent and, Chucky T, they're going into the match, got over, and they're going into the match at All Out to, whoever wins that match apparently will get a first round bye into the tag team title tournament. So that's what this match was all about, seeing who could go over, and I thought it was just really action-packed. One of the best tag matches so far in AEW.
Yeah, and it was a perfect because it got over Private Party, but then also let you know that Best Friends are going to be there for the next show, for the tournament. They get the bye.
Right.
So it accomplishes both its goals, and that's really what you would want to do ideally with most matches is, yeah, you obviously want to get a certain team over because you're doing something with them, but at the same time, even in defeat, you have the Private Party looking really good considering most people have probably never seen them before.
Right. And, everybody gets over, everybody's happy, Best Friends, and now they're 2-0 in AEW, and that it kind of really establishes certain, ideas, certain concepts. It's like, okay, Best Friends, they're a top team.
Mm-hmm.
So going forward, and they, have the angle with, I don't know what they're calling them, the former player, player dose, those guys.
Oh, God.
It makes the Best Friends seem important, but it also makes that gimmick still seem pretty terrible. So
I will say this, as someone who's watched, AEW almost from conception, I've noticed they do take input seriously, and if people are saying this thing isn't over, I imagine they're probably going to book accordingly.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see Sammy Guevara anywhere on this show, so I mean, so there might be a reason for that. Yeah, they do take input pretty seriously, and and also I have to, I'm sure I've kind of already mentioned it, but they've gone really creative. They do things really creatively, and this kind of pre-show stuff seems kind of like they're throwing in, noodles against the wall, seeing what sticks,
I will say this. Yeah. Some of their ideas are not great, almost WWE-esque, but unlike WWE-esque, if it's not working, they don't have a problem dropping it, which is going to be good going forward.
And I think you're going to have for any wrestling product, you're going to have stuff that doesn't work, and we can compare it to say it's WWE-esque, but what's nice is that in these cases, they're not actual rip-offs of the WWE at all,
mm-hmm.
And I feel like we have seen that in pretty much every natural wrestling product before, where you have like these just playoffs of different characters in WWE and like trying to replicate that in a different wrestling product. There's just nothing about the AEW product that reminds me at all of the WWE personally, and maybe something cool when like Cody gets a sledgehammer and breaks down that lame throne that Triple H had or nothing, but like nothing other than just maybe a reference or whatever, but nothing like it's trying to be influenced or marketed based off of WWE stuff, because that would be a really bad move in the way the WWE product is right now. Not a very creative product. So. But yeah, let's get into this next match. You had Ali defeating Leva Bates in 8 minutes and 55 seconds. This was pretty awful. Leva Bates is pretty awful. I got nothing good to say about her. I don't like the gimmick. In fact, I don't like the gimmick, but I have to say that Peter Avalon, who, no surprise, he's a great veteran wrestler based out of SoCal, and he worked for TNA for a couple of years and this and that, but it was the first guy to lose to EC3 at a Battle for Glory.
Nice.
But he's I don't know, he's extremely talented. He kind of he's just kind of like mimicking, or he's a librarian too, right? So that's a gimmick. He's a librarian too, and he just mimicked Leva Bates coming to the ring. He just does a better job at delivering the lines than she does.
Yeah, so, I personally think it's a good gimmick. I think it could work, especially when you do the shush thing to get heat. But yeah, a lot of it is based on how good of a wrestler or not. And I think give it a little bit more time. I think he can make it work. Not so much for Bates though.
Yeah, no, I was kind of feeling that too. I was like, I think most of the consensus online is it's a bad gimmick, and then people are just writing it off and, whatever. And, like, I get that, because she does it so poorly and all that, but, so much better than her.
Yeah.
then I'm like, maybe it could be a good gimmick, kind of you gotta have low card gimmicks. There's no way a gimmick like that gets out of the low card.
You always need jobbers.
You gotta have these low card gimmicks that are kind of entertaining, and he does, honestly, he shines a little, so I wouldn't totally write. I mean, my main thought was like he does it so well that like, man, I just hope that if when they write this thing off, when they will, like probably pretty quickly, like that they give him something else to do because like he's a talented guy, but maybe it'll just be something they could transition into him as the focus of the gimmick. I don't know.
Yep.
But yeah. Anything to say about this match though? I mean,
you pretty much said it all. I wouldn't view this match near an open fire. So I'll leave it at that.
Not even if that was like a fire in a dumpster. It was not great. All right. Well, we shouldn't waste too much time on something that people probably don't care anything about, right?
Exactly.
So, next up was a hardcore match featuring the CEO of CEO Gaming, which I'm not even sure what that is, but I'm not a gamer. But Alex Jabali, losing in a hardcore match to Michael Nakazawa. And I do know Michael Nakazawa.
As do I.
And he's awesome. I, got to oil his back one time at a Chikara show back in the day.
Ooh, nice.
Trios. Yeah, I was very lucky. But he's incredibly entertaining veteran, wrestler, or Japanese wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And, Alex Jabali definitely just there for fun, shits and giggles. And just like kind of just, I don't know how much influence he has over Fyter Fest. I think there might be a lot. But, he probably trains a lot for these matches. I think he had one last year, maybe. I don't know. These dudes are training for a year. And, so, I don't know. It's okay when they do this stuff with like, when it made me think of WCW because I'm like, it's okay when they made like football players like Kevin Green, or Dennis Rodman, guys who were kind of like famous at the time, like, and gave them matches because they were marks for the product. And like, conversely, you could have people talking about it like, hey, did you see what Dennis Rodman did? But this, I don't know. It's a pre-show match,
We're pretty down this pre-show. I think overall the takeaway is, kind of a thumbs down the pre-show. But, it's the pre-show and, it's stuff you're watching to get you hyped, which I guess in that you could say it's a failure, but really most people are coming from the main show, so.
Well, true, but I have to say this, and this is how down I am on the WWE product. I preferred this match. I swear I do. I preferred this match to like pretty much all of Raw main events over the past year. Easy. There might be a few exceptions there.
Mm-hmm.
I actually didn't even watch. I haven't been watching in a while. But when I do, I'm just like, oh god. For instance, I guess they had a match between AJ and Ricochet, last Monday, and, that match was 3 minutes as a main event, and Ricochet went over AJ Styles, multi-world champion, former world champion, and, they had him go over on them 3 minutes. Then they did an angle where AJ turned and yada yada. But, just reading that kind of stuff on paper, I'm just like, I don't need to watch this. Like, if they're gonna have a match between two top guys like that in the main event of Raw, it needs to be longer than 3 fucking minutes. So,
I know.
Yeah, I swear, I mean, especially Roman Reigns main event, or maybe Baron Corbin, or whoever.
That's the big one, Baron Corbin main events.
Yeah, there's a lot of Raw where I'm just like, no, I'd rather watch this Alex Jabali match, actually. What's this guy gonna do next? No, Michael Nakazawa, he absolutely deserves, a lot of credit for carrying this match into pretty shitty, but not like god awful. And I still liked it more than the women's match, so I don't know. But yeah, that's the pre-show. So let's get into the main show. Seema and Christopher Daniels, two all-time great veteran wrestlers. One based out of Japan, one based out of America. two guys who know absolutely everything there is to know about wrestling and train wrestlers, or have trained wrestlers in the past, and two of the all-time great veterans that you can have in any wrestling ring. And Seema goes over Daniels in 9 minutes and 50 seconds, but I thought this was a great match to establish Seema as a strong singles wrestler, especially heading into his match with Kenny Omega. And I thought it was just a great opener, totally solid,
Yeah, my only real critique, and really I'm absolutely just nitpicking here, because this was a fantastic match. You really couldn't ask for more when you imagine what a Christopher Daniels Shima match might be in 2019. It's pretty much delivered in every way. My only real nitpick is I just felt like there's a little slow way to kick off a show. That's my only real nitpick on this. I maybe would have preferred something else in the opener, something a little more speedy. But other than that, I think this match was absolutely fantastic and a great way to kick off a show.
Yeah, I think, over the years I've noticed, or really just the tradition of wrestling, you got like your opening match, two guys that really know what they're doing, and you get one guy over to kind of go on to maybe a higher part of the card. The opening match on a pay-per-view is always, or whatever special show, is always like a feature spot, I feel, and I think that's a lot of wrestling, historians would agree with me, like Bruce Pritchard or whatever. So, it was a really good spot to get Seema over for the next thing, and the next thing being Kenny Omega. And I'm just, I don't know, but I was just really, happy with maybe the structure of the booking of it. And, it was a little slower, but, certainly if you compare it to that 3-way, tag team match. But, I thought it was the right thing to do, have the right spot for it. Now, this is probably my favorite women's match. Well, maybe, in AEW short history, and that's featuring Nyla Rose, Yuka Sakazaki, and Riho. And that match was fantastic, in my opinion. It really got over Nyla Rose as a monster in a way that she was not able to truly be featured in the last AEW show, because he had Kong, doing all the big monster spots. And she absolutely shined in this. Really, all of these women shined. I think this is definitely next level women's wrestling, and something that the company should be, pushing forward, and really be proud of.
Yeah, it's great that they have the Joshi women to bring in to help flesh out their women's division, because they don't really have a lot of names, and it's nice that you can just throw in a couple of Joshi women in there, and it's just like, oh, okay, so we're gonna get a really good match out of it, and yeah, the women are steadily approaching, some of the best matches on the card. But it's really cool that you can just have them come in and just really, most of them aren't names in North America, and very quickly I can see them getting over. So that's something good forward. I was not really impressed by Nyla Rose on Double or Nothing. In fact, I kind of felt like I think she's a little too green. It's cool that you signed her, but maybe you should have her work, maybe a little bit more on the road, maybe a few indie shows before you call her back. In this show, maybe because she was working with such skilled women, or maybe the fact that she had jitters, whatever, the first show, or it was a 4-way, so there really wasn't that much to feature her. But this 3-way, I felt was a significant improvement, and she showed why AEW signed her. So I'm kind of glad we got that out, because especially on the show, some of the talent is obviously indie guys that we've never heard of, who are just professional wrestlers who are ready to go in the major league, no problem. But then some of them I sort of feel like kind of have that indie level stink on them, and it's like, yeah, it's nice that you can put them on a card to kind of flesh out the roster, and they'll put on a pretty decent match, but you can see why they haven't been signed by like a New Japan or a WWE, so that kind of makes sense. What were you going to say, Dave?
Oh, no, I can agree more with your assessment of Nyla Rose. I didn't see anything I thought was substantial out of her during what was my first viewing of a match of hers in the 4-way at Double or Nothing. And here, she got that opportunity to show what she's got. Totally shined. So, good to go on that. But yeah, as far as the indie wrestling thing goes, I'd probably say, just from like a gut fan that goes to a lot of indie wrestling shows, I look at it as like, well, who did they sign? I'm not quite sure who's officially signed or not. I know there's 34 men and 11 women. These Yoshi women, like, if they're signed, like, wow, that'd be fantastic for the company.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, I really want these Yoshi women to be a regular facet of the product. And I really think they will be, because they're such a strong part of it so far. So, but yeah, guys getting opportunities, some guys, wait and see what they got. And I think the company's done, I would say, like a 90% good job on that, just to feature the right guys in the right spots. So,
Mm-hmm.
But speaking about the right spots, or maybe the wrong spots, four-way, which, I'm a big Ring of Honor fan from back in the day. They kind of like perfected the like throw 4 guys out there match and see what happens. Even if it doesn't totally make sense, even if they're not angles or issues, the 4 corner survival matches or whatever. And in this match, you had Jimmy Havoc, who, hardcore wrestler based out of the UK. I've not seen anything out of Jimmy Havoc that I like.
Same here. I was about to bring up. Remember, I mentioned earlier, like, there's some indie talent that's just ready to go on a major promotion.
Probably thinking Jimmy Havoc.
And then Jimmy Havoc, it's like,
not like ready to just leave. He should just leave.
You're being a lot more, you're being more blunt than I would have said. I agree 100% with what you're saying. I was just going to be a little more, formal about it, but yeah, I don't know. I understand they want to book a bunch of hardcore matches, and I'm sure Jimmy Havoc is willing to sacrifice his body.
Yeah. But have you even seen that out of him, really? I mean, the Battle Royal doesn't count. You know what I mean? Like, in this match, he didn't get to do anything. I don't know. And even like the spot, like, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, the most unique hardcore spots, in that Battle Royal, for the pre-show at Double or Nothing, that was probably Janela and the cigarette, on the forehead thing, which is totally unnecessary. I can't remember one spot that Havoc did in that Battle Royal that I thought was like, oh, that's unique, so I don't know.
Hopefully Jimmy Havoc is like, he's one of those guys that just doesn't mind to be lit on fire. Cause I'm like, how can you get some mileage out of this guy? I mean, he's got a cool getup when he comes to the ring, but then after that, it's just like, okay, so you're just a dude.
I don't know, man. I think if it was like 1999, he has a cool gimmick.
Yeah.
I think that gimmick had its day, and that day was a long time ago. I think MGF, like, when he was running down the wrestlers, and I think he called it, in a pre-match promo, he called Jimmy Havoc a 65-year-old, like, emo guy. His mother's basement or something like that. That's loosely what he said. And, I don't know, man. Like, I think it's like, you look at all the great UK wrestlers that, the WWE signed, maybe there's a reason why Havoc didn't.
He was left.
Yeah, hey, that's just our unabashed, that's my passion. So hate on me immediately. That's what you want to do. But we'll see what he has. I mean, he's signed, so put him in a match with somebody who knows how to carry people like Janela, and, in a hardcore match, and it'll be fine. He'll probably do his spot. That's really cool, and we'll be like, he's okay. That's pretty much what I predict for Havoc. But the gimmick sucks. So
I mean, it's very dated. Yeah.
And then you have Jungle Boy, who, everybody's, I think, pretty high on Jungle Boy. It's got a young wrestler that just, has like the right look and enthusiasm and athleticism to really fit into any like major league wrestling promotion. Either kind of reminds me of like a, the look of him kind of reminds me like WCW when it was like beating WWE in the ratings, like one of their low card job guys, kind of, but like like in the best possible way. Like he has the right look. He's super young, like an Alex Wright. He's kind of like an Alex Wright.
He's one of those people where I'm talking about earlier, where I guess I could compare it to him, sort of like Nyla Rose. When I first saw him, I was like, that kind of gimmick and that kind of look, I can see that getting over on the indie scene. But if you're running a major promotion, I don't know if that's really the kind of talent you want to do. So far, I've been impressed since seeing him. He caught my eye at Double or Nothing, and in this show, I was like, okay, he's ready to play with the big boys now. I feel like he stepped up his game, really updated his look. He looks more like a jungle man now.
Oh wow!
So give it a little bit more time, and I think he'll be ready to go in that upper mid tier in the company.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, and for whatever reason they had to come out Luchasaurus, which that's a gimmick they did or have done very successfully. In bar wrestling, they started it there,
nice.
Where it's like a boy and his dinosaur, and I think there was a TV show called A Boy and His Dinosaur.
Yeah, something like that, or a movie, yeah.
Now I feel like I need to Google that, but yeah, it's something I think certain people get, and they're just like, oh, that's hilarious, but whatever. I don't know, I'm just letting it over with me, but if it makes people happy, I'm not gonna knock it. Doesn't look terrible. I've seen, I mentioned it on the previous pod, but I've seen Jungle the very beginning when he was working, or, promotions where 20, 30 people would show up.
Ooh.
I don't think he started in UEW, which is a hardcore fed based out of SoCal, but, that's where I saw him working out with guys like Rocket Boy, DeMarco Wilson, and, just thinking wow, this guy's, in both of those guys, I was like, oh man, these guys really need to be elevated a bit more. They got a really bright future, and Jungle was really, he's really risen up the ranks over the past 18 months, I'd say. So good for him. He was fantastic in this match. He just really held his own with the veterans that MJF and Adam Page are, and I guess they're all veterans. I mean, Havoc's a veteran as well, but.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not when I was following, but yeah. This promo though before the match, I was just like, this is awesome. He's just he's cutting a promo on all the gamers, cutting a promo on all the the gamers that are in the crowd, and also the wrestlers he's about to wrestle. And I thought it was really, really, really entertaining and good heat. It reminded me of an old ECW Dudley Boys promo. Honestly, it was quite that good. And he didn't have to cuss to get over.
Exactly.
I mean, it was just really impressive. And he's so hateable. He's so fucking, I don't even like him. I still don't like him. But he's a damn good worker. Just because he's I'm just oh, he really probably is that guy. He really is a fucking ass. I'd do anything.
My only question is, where did they find this guy? It's you mean to tell me WWE saw this guy and passed on him? He's great.
Yeah. I think a couple of years ago I noticed some of his, wrestling here, wrestling there. He's been a big part of MLW, Major League Wrestling, and Jim Cornette, who I do listen to his pods, and that's a totally another story.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Cornette has a brilliant mind for politics, I think, but maybe not a brilliant mind for wrestling in 2019. He loves MJF. He's just I think he might be half jerking it to him on the pod. He just absolutely loves MJF, and he'll shit over everything else on AEW. Or
yeah, we won't use the fact that Jim Cornette likes him against him.
No. You just can't deny the fact that MJF is that good, and he is damn good. So every time he's out there, I feel again, most of us would associate him with a low card, and maybe not even think on paper that is maybe, just on paper you might be I don't know this guy. I don't know this guy's name. Was this easy an EC3 ripoff, whatever? And it's no, he's actually fantastic. And so you might think he might be a lower card guy at start, but then he's really risen up the ranks, I think, in terms of just a couple of shows, and made himself look like one of the top heels. I think he's really getting up there, and he didn't even go over in this match.
Mm-hmm.
So he's gone out there twice, really kind of risen his star quite a bit. And he hasn't even gone over in a match yet. I mean, that says a lot about it.
Yeah.
So, Adam Page did go over, and I guess we talked about everybody, but Page, like, he's getting ready for that world title match with Chris Jericho, and I feel like with the right crowd, which Chicago is, like, he'll be able to pull it off, like, where it's like people really want to see him beat Jericho because Jericho's the right guy and all that to have wrestle. But I still don't think he's quite ready for the main event. But we'll see. So it's quite good though.
Quite good. Next match.
I mean, I have nothing bad to say about him, but I don't think it's in the main event yet. But yes. Anything else to say about Hangman Page?
No. Well, he was there to win. He looked good. He won.
Yeah. Nothing.
This match wasn't really a showcase for him, even though he was there and won. It was like, okay, let's see what this Jimmy Havoc and Jungle Boy are made of. That's primarily what I was keeping an eye out for. But as everyone, AEW is going to book everything properly, so you knew Page was going to win. You weren't going to have him lose like you would see maybe in WWE TV to set up whatever. No, he's getting the big main event match, and he's getting the title match, so he's got to be booked really strong.
Oh, just to comment on something you just said. Like in WWE, they might have him job to set up nothing at all, just to be like, you guys thought the guy he should win was going to win, and he didn't win, and we had him lose, and that makes no sense, but we did it because we wanted to surprise you. You're fucking smart marks. Fuck you. So that's pretty much what WWE does nowadays. Nonsensical booking. But, now, like, 2 matches I got featured here, in the upper main events. One of them, we're about to go into, and the other one with Janela and Mox, is like, they were featuring 2 guys, Darby Allin and Joey Janela, where, like, it's almost, on paper, you didn't have Mox and Janela or Cody and Darby Allin maybe way up the card, but they were positioned in on it, and I didn't know what necessarily to expect. I kind of thought it was be like Cody's going to go in with Darby, go out, and Darby's going to be like a good mid card guy to job to Cody and have a good little match, but that's not really what we got here. I mean, Cody helped make Darby, and Darby was there every step of the way, and I was very impressed with Darby, who I know I've seen wrestle before. I know he has a lot of potential. I'm not into the gimmick. I think he's lame, but
I'm right there with you. The face painting gimmick. It's like he looks so major league, and it's like you're gonna really rock the face paint gimmick thing. It's like you really don't need that. If anything, it kind of holds you back. But I think AEW is sort of with the mentality of, hey, you do you, and I'm for the most part it works out. But in this instance, you may want him to just be a wrestler because he's really got. I wouldn't say the sky's the limit, but he could be a top guy.
Well, here's the thing: the gimmick, I think, to the normal, whatever what normal is, wrestling palette. You look at it and you're like, okay, this guy should be at the bottom, and this gimmick kind of sucks, whatever. And I've seen him wrestle since then, and he's won me over in previous matches. And Evolve and just other promotions. And I've been happy with the Darby Allin wrestler, the guy in the ring. And with this match, I even went a little bit step further, and I'm like, okay, I really think this guy's got a lot of it, like he's really, he's got a bit of charisma, and he's a good bump guy, and he's, very talented. He's going to be able to do whatever he wanted to do for the most part. And he's going for something with this gimmick, and the gimmick's starting to get over a little with me too. And I think that might be a normal process. It might be a gimmick that you eventually just become like, okay, yeah, the gimmick is a thing, because he is such a credible in-ring wrestler. So I don't know. It's starting to get over me slightly, but it's just because of how fucking good he is. So that back bump off that back bump senton that he did that missed off the side of the ring. Oh my god. I still think that's the one move from the show that I will probably remember for years, is seeing that. And I probably haven't seen enough of Darby Allin to realize that he's probably done that a lot in DC or whatever, but I still have not. Yeah, I've seen that before, and that's just sick. That was like fantastic. And I mean, it is what it is. I like seeing entertaining spots that look kind of dangerous, and that definitely was that. Seeing him going to a 20-minute draw with Cody was definitely not the finish I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have gone with that, because it's like you're setting up Cody for his feud with, what was it, Shawn Spears?
Well, it is Shawn Spears, yeah.
Yeah, it's you're setting up this big feud with Shawn Spears, and the only thing I'm thinking of, it's like, oh, he went 20 minutes with Darby. I want to see that again. It's like, okay, I'm conflicted here. Unless you're going to book three-way,
right.
I don't understand. Like, you could have done the gimmick where Cody wins in the last 10, 15 seconds of the match and still got Darby Allin as a big-time player. But going to a draw, it's like, okay, so he's going to work a program with Darby Allin. And then Shawn Spears comes out. It's like, wait, I'm confused now.
Right, I get that, yeah. I mean, the Shawn Spears thing did kind of come out of nowhere, and unless it's something on being the lead is explained, Shawn Spears.
They were a tag team, I believe, in OVW, and obviously Cody went on to bigger, better things, where Shawn Spears sort of just, was NXT forever and developmental forever. He went to WWE, but he really didn't do anything, and so the whole feud is basically them, Spears hates Cody because he basically was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He got every opportunity that maybe Shawn should have got as well. And I feel like with the weeks of television, they're probably going to step that up. So I'm curious to see if they're going to go in that direction or not. But I imagine, what other story are you going to tell with them? So.
Yeah, I knew none of that. So
see, that's the problem. You didn't have the announcers gain that over. And I had to listen to Dave Meltzer on the Observer Radio. I was like, okay, now I know that. That's a really cool angle, and that makes for a really good feud. But when you have announcers not gaining that over, it's like, well, okay, you're sort of doing a disservice to your promotion.
Getting this man for sure, because he is, because he's a face. I guess Cody's a face. I don't know, because he still does heel shit. So I don't know, but I guess he's a face, and certainly has the fans behind him. And he's a heel, so the heel wants to be on the show too. He's going to hit this guy on top. It's very formulaic, old school, not even sensible necessarily. Not realistic.
Yeah.
Way of booking things, but when you give that story, it's like, okay, yeah, that is a realistic story. That is something I would like that they could build on. Definitely. I thought it was great though that if they were going to do a 20-minute draw with these two, which I was a fan of. I was a fan of that because.
What I was saying, it's good if going forward that's the program. It's like, okay, yeah, that's cool. He's going to work another match, maybe win or lose one way or another. We're going to get a definitive finish, but it's like, okay, but he's feuding with Shawn Spears, so I'm like, wait. I understand what they were going for. They wanted to really put a rocket ship strapped to Darby Allin, but I feel like long-term booking or short-term booking, you're probably best just having Cody go over at the last minute.
Like, keep it simple, stupid kind of stuff. Yeah,
because it's like that John Cena match with Kurt Angle. It's like, okay, John lost, but he got way more out of that by losing.
Right. Yeah, that's really a good point. I mean, either way, he was getting over, wasn't he? So if you have 20 minutes, or if you lose in the last minute or two, Darby got himself over by lasting that long with Cody. So
I'm really, if it sounds like I'm being critical, I'm really just nitpicking. It's like the opener. It's like, well, I would have done maybe this differently, but other than that, it was fantastic.
Yeah, and I think if they have maybe also gets over the idea of the whole time limit thing. If they do a time limit on the majority of AEW matches, I will be a fan of that, because you don't have to have guys necessarily lose to one another. And it's funny when Darby Allin came out with the body bag with the 1-on-1 representing what Cody's record was going to be in AEW. Well, he was right. It was a 1 win, 1 draw, not 1 win loss. But so Darby is a man of his word, man.
It should be 1-0-1.
No, it was 1-1.
No, but I'm saying if for records, it'd be 1 win, 0 losses, and 1 draw.
Yeah, we can ignore that. There's no number to put up there. Zero's not Yeah, so then we get this, Street Fighter 2.
Although I was offended that Kenny didn't commit to the gimmick. It's like the Bucks were all made out to look like Ken, Ryu, and then Omega. It's like, oh, I'm going to dye my hair and maybe paint myself a little bit.
He had the thing on his back. I don't know that character. That's not in the original Street Fighter 2. So I just know Ken and Ryu. But what character was that?
That's Akuma. He actually in later versions of 2, he is a playable, fightable character. It's Akuma.
Akuma.
Yes.
Yeah. I used to enjoy his work in Fist and Chikara. No, I'm just different fight.
Was that his name?
Grand Akuma, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Grand Akuma. There you go. Yeah.
Well, I knew that was people know what I'm talking about. Anyways, if they had watched Fist and Chikara 10 years.
Yes.
Come on. Not obscure.
No, not really. Not for the folks that are going to be willing to listen to an AEW podcast. No, certainly not.
Or a retrospective.
You have to throw that in there too as part of the gimmick.
Yeah. They wrestled the Laredo Kid and Lucha Bros, and I mean, this is a match of the night in my book. This was fantastic. This was action-packed. This is exactly what almost like what it depends on who you're talking to. I think most of us have seen Kenny Omega or Double or Nothing. In fact, most of the audience. But if that was his debut, maybe it wasn't the best debut for Kenny Omega. This could have been a better debut for Kenny Omega.
Yeah, but you know what? It's not a debut because they still haven't gone on TV yet. So that's the thing. People are critical of their booking so far. It's like, dude, they haven't even got TV. They haven't even started their TV show yet.
Yeah, it's almost like right now, nothing. Well, we love these shows, and they are generating a lot of interest in fans and, buy rates for Double or Nothing and all that. It's getting the product out there. Really, nothing kind of matters until you get to that point where you are broadcasting on a weekly basis to a national audience that has never seen any of this kind of stuff before.
Yeah, people are saying, you're gonna turn away some casual audiences. Like, dude, they're not even on TV yet. How can they do anything with a casual audience when they're not even on a major TV network yet? So I think we all need to cool our jets. If they start doing stuff like this on TV, then maybe, but everyone just needs to chill out.
No, I mean, it's just absolutely, there's no casual fans really checking this shit out, I mean, not really. It's just not a thing, certainly not on the and even beyond, going a little bit further with that, WWE still tries to attract non-wrestling fans. People don't watch wrestling at all, just flipping through the channels, this and that, just normal Joe Public. Well, Joe Public, I guarantee you, is not watching AEW. And they will have the opportunity to watch AEW
exactly
when it's on TV. And that's really what we're talking about. Because if you're already indoctrinated, even if you're a casual wrestling fan, wrestlers can be fucking silly sometimes. So who gives a shit, right?
Yeah.
But Joe Public, checking it out, maybe dabbling, maybe he'll watch longer than he thinks he's going to. That guy is nowhere near AEW yet.
Exactly.
It's when it's on TNT, game's on. So. And that's still one of the very top networks in cable. So cable's an interesting thing, but that's a whole other story. But it's how important is cable nowadays? Well, maybe not so much, but still, the Joe Public, old man Joe Public that doesn't stream yet, he's going to be able to watch AEW on TNT.
Exactly.
So that's, Lucha Bros, are they they might want to do something with Lucha Bros in future shows to kind of get them over more, because they are over. Absolutely in the crowd, this and that, they are great wrestlers. They're renowned, internationally, but they haven't gotten, they've kind of Young Bucks Chops guys right now.
Well, I think they're not signed with AEW yet. I think, especially when you're talking about Penta, I think he's still maybe under a Lucha Underground contract.
Well,
under those contracts were never ending contracts, and I think Joey just recently got out of his. So
yeah, Joe Ryan, yeah.
And they also wrestle in AAA a lot, so they have other prior commitments. So yeah, AEW will use them to help them get the Bucks over. And working matches with the Bucks also help them get over. But considering the Bucks are front and center AEW talent, it's like they're probably gonna feature them more than anybody else.
Yeah, and I guess it's okay. I mean, it's again nitpicky on my part to be but if they are going to be regular facets in AEW, a regular top team, then you got to put them over on the next few shows. I think after losing to the Bucks twice here, that's Bucks have their match scheduled next show with Cody and Dustin, and they're not on the show yet, so maybe they aren't, going to be AEW guys. Maybe they're just like great wrestlers. They can wrestle from time to time. I think they're more under a deal with AAA right now than anything. So, but there's a AAA AEW deal in place, but that doesn't mean that they're AEW guys yet. So that's fair to say.
And that's something that they wanted for the promotion. They want to be, they want to work with all these other promotions, and I think. I think it's to their benefit for these other promotions to work with them. Especially you have something like the Bucks and the Lucha Brothers. It's like, okay, they'll lose to the Bucks on AEW TV, but then they'll do the favor and they'll go back to AAA and do the job there.
No, that's totally fair. I mean, they've done that with a lot of different promotions over the years that have partnerships. You job here and you're the face here and yada yada yada. So yeah, fantastic match. Totally action packed. Any last thoughts on it?
No, other than you pretty much said it all. But as far as we're talking placing on a card, I kind of wish this was the main event, because this was the match that just sort of blew me away. I mean, I love the main event. It was great and all, but I felt like this was the main event for me. This was the match I was looking forward to. And this is something
keep up with that gimmick of like, silly and lameness, kind of like where this was the main event, and the Jon Moxley match was unsanctioned. Like, he just took over the show and everything.
I fully expected you to do this review and be like, well, it was unsanctioned, so I didn't watch it.
There you go.
It was not made for public consumption. It was just it was Janela and Moxley. They were just settling things out, and I feel like they should do that in their own private time. So I just stopped watching after that.
I see.
No, but I watched it.
It's like watching a brawl in the crowd, right? It's
exactly.
Like, that's not why we're here. We're here. Well, and that's respect. I mean, we should just wrap up this podcast right now. Fuck that.
Yes, this, to keep up with the gimmick, this review is unsanctioned.
Oh, yes. Now we need to take the lights off. Turn the lights off in my room right now. It is 2 p.m. in the middle of the afternoon, so I'm not even sure why the lights were on. Actually, that's not very green. But the lights are now off. And now I'm raising them back up so we can. Oh wait, this is radio, right?
I'm gonna have to teach you how radio works, dude. The people can't see you.
Can't see my lights. Huh?
No.
Oh. All right. Well, anyway, so let's talk about Moxley and Janela. What did you think?
This is great. Obviously, I people nitpicking stuff here and there, and I'm just like, hey, you know what? At this point, AEW, if I can just get great matches, I'm happy. Mm-hmm. That's really at this point. That's all I want. People are like, oh well, this should have been the last match to blow off a feud. Blah blah blah. Moxley should be working with other more established guys. And I'm like, just can we just enjoy good wrestling?
There's a certain audience out there that this match is like a dream match for like. I mean, this isn't what was in a death match, but it's for hardcore wrestling fans on the indies. I mean, Moxley used to tear it up before he became a WWE product as Dean Ambrose, and Janela is a guy who continually tears it up currently on the indie scene. He also can really go in the ring as an athletic wrestler as well, as can Moxley. But the fact that they have like these hardcore followings, these like, I mean, in a certain audience, I mean, not the main audience, admittedly, but like this is like a dream match, and I'm really not a fan of fans telling wrestlers how hardcore they shouldn't be in 2019. I think it's almost like it's just like they say it just to feel better about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not into that shit. All right, this was a fun fucking match to watch. It's a great way to debut Moxley's uncontainable, sadistic, wild side that he has, and that he'll bring to the product, and it kind of makes him stand out from all the other wrestlers. And it also kind of helps sets up like Omega Moxley, because I'm sure that'll be a hardcore match.
Mm-hmm.
And Janela, I've been a fan of Janela for a couple of years now. I love the gimmick. I just think he's a great in-ring wrestler. This is maybe this is one of my most favorite Janela matches. I really enjoyed this match, and he's absolutely shined as well. And, you kind of want to see what they're going to do next with him as well, because again, coming into the show, he was more lower card guy, lower middle card guy, he's a battle royal guy. But now I'm like, okay, well, now the next matches that he has are going to mean a lot more, and let's see what he does next. And to continue to kind of push him up the card. And Janela's got it.
Very much so. Yeah. Thanks for taking all my thunder. I'm like, what can I add to this that Dave hasn't really put over in this match? It's like, no, that's what I was going to say too. No, I was going to say too.
Okay.
It's okay. Usually I have my own opinion and I can differentiate myself from you, but I'm like, nope. This was everything that I was hoping it'd be. It was a really good match. For people that are nitpicking, saying, well, I would prefer X, Y, Z, or like you mentioned earlier, people not hurt themselves. It's like, I don't care. They're going to have a good match, and I'm going to enjoy myself. And that's what this show was. Or this match was, I should say. Well, this show, too, as well.
Well, absolutely. And it was kind of like, in this show, was absolutely just kind of like, here's some fun matches that we think would be great. And, it's a free show, so enjoy. And it absolutely came off like big league, like it was definitely something you could easily put up right against the NXT TakeOver. And it feels like they almost did it in a kind of casual, fun way. Everybody, though, that was in the ring, they just worked their asses off.
And like I mentioned at the beginning of this review, I prefer this kind of card where it's fewer matches. I feel like everything was up to a certain part. I think everything was like 3 stars or more. And it's like everything really delivered. And I'd prefer a short and sweeter show like this than a Double or Nothing that, yeah, it's a lot longer. You're getting a lot more pro wrestling. Yeah, most of it's pretty good, but it kind of felt uneven at times. Whereas this was all good. This was all at a certain level, and I would prefer this going in the future. And if this is what AEW TV is going to be like, where, it's a you don't get the absolute best of the best matches because that's what pay-per-view would be for. But if you're getting matches like this or even lesser degree on TV, I'm going to be a very happy AEW viewer.
Absolutely. I mean, if you splice, say, the opening, well, maybe this would be a little bit too, picking and choosing, but let's just randomly say, your regular episode of TNT AEW is like the first half of the show, and then one of the top 3 matches in the last half of the show, and that's like your show. And then you have some angles, obviously you have some angles in there between this and that. That's a fantastic show that everybody's going to watch every week, and one they can pull off for quite a while without, getting repetitive. So, that's exciting to think about, honestly. So we're in the preliminary stage, and it doesn't feel preliminary at all, and it feels just so much more fresh than years of WWE television. And I like everything that they're doing creatively for the most part, and just even when you put guys out there that shouldn't be, or gimmicks out there that shouldn't be, maybe the match just happens on the pre-show that shouldn't be. It's still this is new, and new right now is better. Honestly, there's no used to be new is great. New can be better, but right now where we are at this stage of history in wrestling, new is better.
Yes,
that's it. That's all it is. Far be it from us though to go into a long pod about a shorter show.
Yeah, the thing is, I think our last show was probably shorter than this one, but we were expecting we'll just do a very quick review of the show, and it winds up going long.
Yeah, shit happens. No one's giving us our call times, so. And hopefully you've listened to all of it. If you have, you should get a merit badge or something, a gold star. And I'm looking forward. Before we go, we should probably go over very quickly the show in Jacksonville on July 13th.
Fine by me.
I'm not sure if it's a pay-per-view yet. We just know it's happening. So it's for the, victims of gun violence in Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's 4 matches scheduled. So it's Adam Page, Kip Sabian. It was to do this really quick. Kip Sabian was the guy that wrestled Sam Rivera on the pre-show, that match where the 2 vanilla midgets. So going over, I'm not particularly looking forward to this. Keep Adam Page over, yada, yada, yada. Kenny Omega SEMA, that'll be fantastic.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
And Kenny will have some fun there. He's an artiste in the ring, and SEMA's just absolutely fantastic. So they could just do anything, those 2 guys. Brandy Rhodes and Allie, so that should be all right. Allie I liked actually in that terrible pre-show match. I have liked her before, so I'm not knocking her. Brandy actually can go a bit, and she's got the charisma, so, it should be fine. And then the main event, or what I am dubbing the main event, because it has actually become the main event. The Rhodes brothers, Cody and Dustin, versus the Jacksons, the Young Bucks.
That's going to be awesome. People were kind of skeptical about Dustin going to AEW. It's isn't he old? I'm I seem to remember him being on WTV, especially when he was tagging with Cody. It's those were great matches, and it's if you can put those Rhodes brothers against the Bucks, that's going to be a rip-roaring match.
Oh yeah. And I have no idea how this is being broadcast at all. Yeah, they haven't put out the information. So it might just be a local show.
Mm. I imagine there'll be some way for us to watch. I have to imagine they just won't let the show exist in a vacuum. It's no, we're probably going to get some either, BR Live like we got with this show, or it might be a pay-per-view. But I'd imagine there'll be some way for us to eventually catch this show.
Right. Well, that's a very good point. Especially that Bucks.
Also, I think doesn't TNT have a streaming app?
Set it up at Double or Nothing. So
yeah, doesn't TNT have a streaming app?
Oh, there you go. Well, yeah, and then they streamed the pre-shows for Double or Nothing. I think Fyter Fest.
So that may be where it winds up being on. I'm sure when we finally get the final announcement, it may be something like that. But I imagine this won't be a show that's just for the live audience. It's going to be something for us. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see how they want to set this one up. I don't think anybody expected Fyter Fest to be as good or as notable as it was. And this one, on paper, it's okay, you have 2 really cool matches, and then they have some other matches, but they only have 4 matches. So they definitely got to fill out that card and then let us know how we can watch it. But they'll let us know.
Yes.
Yeah. We're only 10 days away, but they'll let us know. All right. Well, I think that's it for us today. Hopefully have a pod in a few weeks after that show. So
thanks for listening.